Okay, for the final presentation today, we're going to look at software development, and I know something that's interested a lot of people, because in software development one of the big changes that's emerged over the past years has been Agile in its various forms, and this has obviously led to a natural question, you know, which should I choose, Agile or critical chain? And for people who know me, my answer is always very simple: 1 + 1 = 3. Put them together. So this is all about how to do a win-win with Agile and critical chain simultaneously in software development. And it's with the company ORTEC, and he's going to present himself and what they do and how they run their business.
Okay, thank you. I'll pick up some gear, and yeah, I'm really aware that I'm the buffer of the day, because I'm standing between you, the time now, and the drinks. So I feel it really important to spend your time in a good way. I call it the Heineken buffer. So let's start here. I recognize a lot what I like to say and what I like to share with you in the presentation before, because the theory of constraint is quite similar in a lot of aspects in several business, and also in IT we used it, and I like to spend as much time with you as I can, so to get rid of the student syndrome, I go through the first slides very fast. So that's about my company. I'm really proud to work there. ORTEC is about 35 years active. We have 800 employees, a lot of customers in a lot of countries, and we run like 80 million. We're in a lot of places in the world. You can find us over there. And what we want is to improve the world with our passion for mathematics. We make a lot of algorithms, and our main task is optimizing business, optimizing planning. And we are doing that with several solutions, like vehicle routing, like workforce scheduling, or some SAP solution connections. We do it in a lot of industries. Wherever you can find it. Healthcare is a big client, a big industry for us. And we are all trying to build sustainability. Sustainability between people, planet, and profit. And that's what our software should provide you, and provide sustainability. I like you to zoom in on my world in ORTEC. My world in ORTEC is the ORTEC workforce product. And what we are aiming for is to have a better life-work balance, so that you have time to spend with your kids, to spend at the beach, and do some work also. So I like to take you to my journey, which starts in 2016. I was a business consultant at ORTEC before I became a software manager, like I am now. And that starts in 2016. So I came from the business side, and they say, hey, you have a lot of knowledge from business, so please, how should we make our developments better? Because we like to have more agreements with our customers. So I was always helping to sell ORTEC Workforce, and I came as a manager software. Well, let me take you to 2016. I put off my jacket, a little bit hot here, and maybe it's the situation from my work too, because I never wear a jacket, because I'm always working. Because 2016, it was March, I was sitting at my desk at ORTEC. It was 10 o'clock at night. Outside, it was dark, rainy. And I was still working and thinking, what do we have to do? Because we have two divisions. departments, development and maintenance. And it's 2 o'clock at night and I'm still sitting at the office. My best friend, the security officer came by. He said, "Hey, Mr. Woltering, still there?" "Yes, I'm still there." "Okay, I'm wondering, maybe I can help you. I'll put a bed on the 8th floor, then you can sleep also." And I was thinking, wow, work-life balance. Our product should make it. How's it with my work-life balance? So I was thinking, there's something wrong. And I read the goal. So when I read the goal, I thought, okay, there was a kind, I'm a kind of Alex, and I have to call someone. So I have to call my Jonah. So I put my phone, and I try to call my Jonah. Hey. Okay. Someone is listening. Nice. And my Jonah is Gijs. Hey, Gijs.
How are you doing?
Not too well. I'm still at work and I really have some problem. Let me tell you the problem.
You're still at work. It's the middle of the night.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'll put you on hands free, okay?
Okay. Your hands free now.
Okay, I'm hands free because I have some problem. My developers, the development department, all people are walking around like chicken. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. At maintenance, they're really stressed. There's a lot of work to do. We have quite some tools we use. We use Agile Scrum. We use Kanban. But still we have a lot of problems. And our goal at the development part is we will have a project and we want to have support large environments. That's where we're working on. But we have a lack of capacity. So people coming from everywhere. What we hire people and the project is already going on for 3 years. Our reliability is really, really bad. We don't deliver any delivery dates. The dates are always wishes, so we never get anywhere to developer. And our project management is really not good because always the priorities are changing. And we don't finish anything. The sub-projects and even the tasks are not finished. So the team spirit is very low. Our team lead determines what happened. The employees don't know what to do. They don't have a big picture of what we are doing. And the project was not finished on time. And our employees even got a penalty. So they had to decrease their salary.
Decreased in salary even.
Decrease in salary,
Okay.
yes.
And this is development. Yeah. What about maintenance?
Well, this is maintenance. We released in January a new version.
I can see that.
You can see it.
Something happens. Wow.
You know about quality. Now, when we're talking about quality, a lot of bugs. We have a backlog of 480 issues. And if you know, 10 issues solved per week.
So that's 48 weeks.
That's 48 weeks, Gijs.
Well,
Yes.
you have a good job.
Yeah. So we have no time to get to the weird issues. And we all, if you look at the shoots, it's the never folder. They never gonna end.
I'm familiar with that.
If you look at the role of the team lead, he does the intake and he assigns it. So, like the developers, they don't know what they are doing in the big picture. We have a lot of specialists in the team, so we are very dependent on what they do.
Yeah. And if they are not there?
If they're not there, the specialists,
Yeah.
we wait for a couple of days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Many escalations. Our customers are really, really not happy. We are having about 15 escalations, really escalations, that they're trying to get money from ORTEC.
And escalations, you mean they start fighting or? quarrying or?
Yeah, they call the CEO to come
Oh,
over, and yes, they really have something to do.
And they ask you to work until 2 at night then, right?
Yeah,
To
and
solve the problem.
and to sleep here at
Yeah,
ORTEC.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, of course. And if you look at the natural variation, when we have some lows, then it's filled up by all the work that's gone. So always the pressure on the people
Okay.
and on the work. No focus on effort. We are only counting the number of issues.
Yeah.
So help me.
You're drowning. The developer is drowning. You're drowning as well.
But I'm standing for my
Yeah,
people,
right.
so
Yes,
the
of course,
developers are
of course.
drowning. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, taller than I am. Yeah, right. So if I listen well to you, to what you said, and I can make a summary of it, it looks a little bit like this. Your backlog is too high. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's higher than you wanted, actually.
Really, yeah.
I mean,
480
480,
and
that's
a project which never ending.
Right, right.
I don't know what to do.
And I can imagine that when a really urgent issue is coming in, the other 480 have to wait, right?
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
So it's getting even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Lead times are often too long, right?
Yep. Always.
So always.
Always.
Not often, but always.
No, our customers are always complaining, when can I deliver? When get I delivered? Because they have a bug,
Yeah.
and they now have to wait for 20 weeks before they get an update.
I get an update. Okay.
Yeah. 20 weeks.
20 weeks.
20
Yeah.
weeks.
5 months.
So
okay.
20 weeks, your car is not driving well.
So probably your priorities are changing constantly.
Yeah.
Because if people are working on something and something urgent is coming in,
Yeah, it
has to change.
It has to come in.
Right.
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
Which means I can imagine that customers are not satisfied about it.
Like I said.
Kind of an understatement, right? What we see then is quality levels are not met, not at least the quality levels you want them to meet.
I want them really high. I come from the business, so quality is my business.
That's right, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And you can't deliver.
I can't deliver,
Yeah.
no.
And as I see, well, you're an example of it, team members are exposed to high workloads.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
They
no.
work until
really.
2 o'clock at night as well?
Now, they are really exhausted and they don't want it anymore. And
Okay.
they get a penalty. So they start mornings at 9
Yeah.
and they have a break, 3 hours.
Yeah,
like,
of course, yeah. Getting lunch
Having
somewhere.
lunch,
Yeah.
anywhere. And 5 o'clock they think, okay, it's time. So they drop all the work and they go.
Okay. And what about people being sick? Is it rising?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
So what we normally see, Edwin, is if you click on is that there is something wrong with the flow, which leads to quality problems, which leads to satisfaction or dissatisfaction of people in your company and people outside your company. And what we would like you to do is to look at the flow. So my job is to focus you on where really the problem is. There are a lot of problems. You can do a lot, but there's only one solution that will really help you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So what we see is on the left-hand side, people running all over and fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And what we would like them to see is something like a factory where everything is flowing.
A factory in IT.
Yeah, like a service factory. Let's make it a factory.
You think
Kind
it's
of a strange
possible?
concept. Well, it is possible, but there are
Okay.
2 necessary conditions,
Okay.
and that's about people.
Hmm.
So we've got, before you can implement or give any solution, you have to work with your people.
Okay.
So what we ask you to do is to think about a community of trust. People have to trust each other, and a unity of purpose.
Okay.
Can you say something about how that works for you?
Knowledge is really important. So we built a lot on trust. And when we had the trust, and it came back, and we had the mindset towards TOC, we could make the next step. And the next step was to look at the goal. You asked me, what's our goal?
Yeah, so if you start trusting each other and discussing about what the goal is, what came out?
Well, we had a goal, and the goal was we want to let ORTEC workforce be valuable for our customers. And the three happies: happy customer, happy employee, happy financials. And what does it mean? Happy customers. When do we have happy customers? How should we know? What should we do to know what makes them happy? Simply ask them what is needed. Talking with our business. So communication with our stakeholders was very, very important here. To have happy employees is that they know what they are making and what they are developing, and they have to know what the problem is, because they are now developing things, but they don't know what for. So what we did is, don't develop anything if you don't know what the problem is which you solve. Just always ask why. 5 times why. Why? And that's how we came back with our goals. And as a target we said, okay, we want to be really reliable, so we take the 90% workforce deliverables on time.
And the only agreed date is not within a year, right?
No, it has to be in a satisfying way for our customers.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So if we came back with the goal, and both teams were in a community of trust and a community unity of purpose. They knew what we had to do, and I did as a manager. I came a part of the team. I started to see my kids more often, and within the thinking process, we were talking with our stakeholders, and we were making some UD trees, some clouds, and the answer the stakeholders came with, what do you really need? They say, we need performance and stability of our software solution. And we want another look and feel. So I was thinking, wow, we are busy at development with a large environment project. It doesn't fit to our goal at all. What to do? They already are 3 years working on a project, and the stakeholders, the business says, we don't want it. Recognize someone? Well, I could only do one thing. Stop the project. So you can imagine the team was really happy. So they say, okay, it doesn't fit to the goal. We are already 3 years working on something we don't know what it's going to be. So we're really glad that it's stopped. My manager was not that happy because he saw 3 years money going to the drain. But I had to. And I could really explain why.
And at the end, the stakeholders and your manager agreed?
They both agreed, yes.
They both agreed. And
yes.
why did they agree?
Because we told them a little bit about TOC. We told them a little bit about goals and doing the right things and solving problems which has to be solved based on the need of customers.
So what we always see in an implementation as a first step, besides the necessary condition about your employees, is talking about the goal, which is not easy. And I remember when we talked with you and your management and the business about the goal, that it took a little, maybe a little more, to find out that they really want performance and stability and look and feel. Whereas you in the development world said, well, we want to build a nice new project, nice new product.
Yeah.
So when that stopped, there was something happening in the organization where the amount of work decreased. So it became a little bit more stable. Now this was not all, because when you say we don't do anything on this level, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's on the next slide, I think.
Now that's
yeah.
And you asked me to define our product and service catalog. Catalog? Yeah, catalog. That's the English word. And you'd like to explain?
So what we asked the department is, if you build software, how can you, like we talk about the factory, how can you make it into small chunkable elements, parts? And what they did, what they could do, and I'm not a developer, but we asked the department to do it. What they defined were products with the terms on the left-hand side. So they built small, medium, and large elements of software. And a small element of software, you can see it in the table, MTS, it says, a small element has a lead time of 5 days. And an extra small has a lead time of 3 days. And a large has 8 days lead time, which means it's not a project of 3 years anymore, but there are chunks of only 1, 3, 5, or 8 days. So you can manage it more in a more regular and frequent way. So you can see flow at any time of the day, any place in the organization. That's what we built.
Yeah, you're especially looking at the maintenance here. So this is the maintenance figures. And like I said, when we look at maintenance, what we measured also is that we don't want the large issues. So we cut them in pieces to have 3 mediums or 2 smalls.
Right. Now the next discussion we had with Edwin and his team is, how much do you produce? And how much you produce is dependent on your capacity, of course. So how many people you have, that many developer days or points you can produce in your factory. And on the top side of this this report, you can see that the standard of this team is to produce 19 developer days or 19 points per week. And you can measure that. You can see what comes out every week. And you can see on a weekly basis if they reach the goal on a weekly level. 19 points. The next thing you have to specify is how long are you allowed to do on that work. How much time are you allowed to spend if you look at the lead time, which is not the TOC time, but the lead time. So they defined all the lead times, the norm lead times for every product. So if a small-sized element came in, you have to finish it in 5 days. From start to finish, you have to finish it in 5 days. And last but not least, you have to define for each and every product how reliable you want to be. So you can define a norm lead time, but you also have to define the reliability, difficult word for Dutch people, reliability for every project. And you see that on the right-hand side. And they wanted to be reliable for 90% of all the products they deliver, for every type of product they deliver. And you can measure that on a weekly basis.
Yeah. So we started with solving all those questions, and we made some measurements. And the next thing was our work in progress, because if you look at maintenance, 480 issues. But we have some developers left because we stopped the other project. Maybe we can do something with them. Any idea?
So we checked, what about your work in progress and how does it come into this factory? How does it come to life in this environment? So what we see is there is a natural tendency for variation in every process you have. And in this situation, there are dependencies, aren't there?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, we released an enhancement pack.
Yeah.
And woohoo,
it goes up.
it goes
Right.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what happens if you have variation and dependencies? Waiting times exist. So there is more work coming in to the factory. And more waiting times means more multitasking. And with multitasking, and you're all familiar with multitasking, I hope. You lose about 50% of your capacity if you are really bad in multitasking, which means you lose capacity and you build up even more work in progress in the factory itself. So you get longer lead times and less throughput, which means increasing pressure, because what we see, if people are not able to finish their work, they feel real pressure, not because of the customer also, but also because of their own professionality. So they are under pressure and they decrease the quality. The same was in your case, I think, the situation.
Yeah, like I said, we tried some new technology from the main developments within our enhancement pack, but it didn't fit that well. So what you see, the number of bugs was really going up like this. So this is really exhausting, because we couldn't already have this finished, and that's something really important things are coming up. Never-ending story.
So what did you do?
What did we do? Well, we looked at our work in progress, and simple, reduce it. So, well, like I said, we had some developers left, and those developers we put them to the team of the maintenance, and we say, okay, we start with closing the non-importance issues. We create a special team for removing the backlog, and focus on only maintenance, focus on finishing, stop multitasking. So we even stopped some meetings, because there were a lot of meetings about talking about everything. We stopped them. Only work at issues.
Okay.
Focus.
And what happened?
What happened? Well, this. So these were all non-important issues, and then you think, how about non-important issues? 400 issues. Yeah, some of them were already 3 years old. So why should you keep them or solve them? So what we did, we closed like 300 without any discussion, and we said, okay, stakeholders, you can give some issues to us that you think that's really needed. Okay, we got 20. So it was really nice to have a work in progress, a backlog, what was really, really cool. So that's where we are now. So the next step is really important, because now it's about keeping in flow.
Yes, that's right. So what normally happens when you produce something, when you make something, is that you work on it. That's the black, how do you call it? Line? Thank you. Yeah. So if you work on it, the black line is work, and then you have to wait for something, like an answer, like a customer, or something else comes up, and a day later you can work again on it. So usually a process of production, a making process looks like this. So if you have less work in your factory, what you can do is try to get rid of all the waiting times in the process, which is easier than trying to be more efficient on the places where you work. So how did you do that? Yeah, what did you do?
Really, if you show this picture, I recognize it immediately, because this is our building state, this is our review state, our second review state, our testing, and our delivery. And always there's a lot of waiting time between them. So this is our IT process. So instead of what we did before, trying to improve working time and working processes, I think it's really better to look at the waiting time. So we did. We looked at the waiting time, and we cleared the process. So what we did is we had a lot of specialists. So we had to train all the team members to do things they never done before. And they were really anxious about it in the beginning. But after a while they think, that's really nice, because I'm learning more. I'm learning new things. And with help of my colleague, because we are a team now, and we help each other, and he tells me what I can do and how I can learn more, I can do more. So you see that using this, the waiting time really decreased. Yeah. we did we look further to our process, and we were looking if it's only waiting time, there must be more. And if we look more, then can we say, okay, we have some good steps in our process, what's really, really well. Let's put them into the main process, because then you have a big process. So we did a lot of batching, like I said, for specialists. Second review, where specialists remove the batching and let them do it at time that it's needed. That's one of the things. One other thing is one process for all the developments. So we had two processes for maintenance and development. Make it one process, because then they can help each other, and you can change people from departments. And what we did is, and it's really not used in IT business, all issues, all projects had a delivery date. So every single issue, we give a delivery date. So in our system, when something comes from the service desk, we look at the issue. We look, it's something like medium. The average, what's coming in is a medium. So medium is 3 working days, 5 days for lead time. So within a week, we can give an update. So we put a delivery date in the system, and we say, okay, we will deliver within a week. Well, you can imagine that our internal customers and external customers were really blasted away, because you put a date on what you do. And 1 month ago, it was 3 months ago, it was not reliable at all when you should deliver or would deliver. The other thing is what I say. We had a lot of meetings. Cut them. Really cut. And like I say, we see use small pieces of work, because when you have small pieces of work, the developer knows better what the problem is, can more easy solve the problem, and has an understanding what he's doing. Because when it's too big for the mind. They're all academic, but they have their borders, grenzen. Yes. Yeah. So that's what we did, and make a better process and make it very simple.
So the fourth step we took is that we introduced unity of priority, or that's another name for buffer management, and WIP limits. So if you limit the working process in the system, you gain more flow. And we implemented buffer management on 3 levels. And I think the most levels are familiar to you. So on the top level, there must be something like portfolio management, because there's more than one project. And you have to manage more projects in the same environment. So we have a kind of a fever chart for that. Then there's, of course, when you define a project in the system, you can work with CCPM, so they work with CCPM as well. Define a buffer, have a discussion on how large should that buffer be. And on the bottom level, so task level, we implemented the Kanban board, but the Kanban plus board, you might say. So most of you, I think, are familiar with Kanban. We introduced buffer management on that Kanban board. So every card, small, medium, large, goes from left to right, but also has a buffer on it. So you can see where it is compared to the day of delivery, of your due date. Okay?
Yeah. Well, we can speed up this one, I think. When we look at the portfolio management, we've already seen a lot of figures like this, where we can see now how our portfolios is going, and don't talk about the green things, only talk about the red things and the yellow things.
And what they did is implement, you may say, drum buffer rope, because the agreement is you can only start a new project when there's one project going out. Yeah. So the work in progress in the system is also limited.
Yeah. So the drum buffer rope came up, and it was all based on business. Yeah. Well, this is how Adato, and that's Ad Vermeulen, he's director of Adato. We use Adato for our project management. Now, like you see, it's CCPM. where we have the project, and we have the buffer. And one of the nice things there is then if the cards from a project use the buffer, you can immediately recognize it over here, and there's also a percentage in it, so you know how much of the buffer is spent in every single step of the project. And that's really important, because then you know how the project is running as in total. Another thing what we use is the Kanban Plus, like you said. You see the colors. There's a color where we say, okay, we have a delivery date. And maybe you see, no, you don't see it that well, but here's a delivery date on it, and depending on how far it is in the process, it gives another color, and you see a little red button, even 3 over there, and that's the color of the project where the card is part of. So we twice a day we look at this Tameflow board with all the team, and all the team members knows, okay, this is happening, this is focus, this is important. And you see, what we see a lot happen is, oh no, I have to explain this one. We use the, how do you call the bullets? The tokens, yes, thank you, Ad. And the tokens is that we don't have much work in progress. So every card spends a token. If you are with 3 people, then it's 3 tokens. So when the tokens are on 0, you are not allowed to take another issue. Just have to finish what's on the board. Well, why it's working for us? We know how much buffer is consumed. We can easily define the priorities. We know as a whole team what the buffer status is. And we have less work in progress, so we can focus on finishing. This is really important for all the team members, twice a day, to look at and to discuss about and to have their goals.
So the 5th step we took is that although they were working in teams, it's very important to get rid of specialists and really aggregate your capacity. So what these graphs tells us that the staff number 1 on the top of it has a certain level of work every day of the week, and the other one, the second one on the middle, has another level of work. When you count them together, when you add them, I can see them. When you add them, you have less variation, which means you can use your capacity in a more effective way. And that's what you did also?
That's what we did, yeah.
We only have 10 minutes
No
now.
more specialists, people who gonna do each other's work. So when someone is ill, next day someone else takes over. And the issue goes on. The teamwork, yeah. The team is deciding what to do. They are always focusing on the goal. The team members, they support each other, and what you see is that one theory I really like to see is pair programming, developing with 2 people in one time. We see it a lot because they can't pick up an issue, then they start to help each other for finishing the other things which are on the Kanban board. So they support each other a lot, and asking help for academic is really not done. So it's really another mindset for them. We have less high and lows, and I think we can manage the flow now.
Yeah. So the last part is, of course, measuring what's happening in the system. And it's very important that you talk about how you measure the system and what you do with the figures you get out of the system. So you can penalize people, you can punish them if they don't deliver what they should deliver, or you can just look at them and analyze where did it go wrong. So they don't do it on purpose, there's a reason why they can't deliver. So that's how we use the management information as well. What kind of management information do you use?
What we use is we have the daily stand-up, and it's not only the management information, but what we do, the cards in progress and the work in progress. We have a weekly stand-up with the team about flow, capacity and throughput. and a monthly sit down where we analyze what went wrong, where the black cards came from, and how we can improve the continuous improvement process. So if we look at the process and we look at the results, thanks to Gijs and his team, I think we did a lot. And I put only the highlights because of the time. I knew it was 10 past 5 now, so we have 5 minutes left. What we see is a really lesson learned is efficiency is something quite completely different from effectiveness. And we're not looking for efficiency, but we want to be effective. And effective means that someone is doing nothing because other issues are not finished. And that's really strange. And a nice, little story. That we started again with some nice meetings, and some of the guys was working, and I said, "Hey, you don't go?" And he looked at the board and he said, "Okay, I think I can go," because he had an overview of the workload, and it gives him a lot of rest, and it gives all the people a lot of rest to know what they are doing and how much pressure they have to give. And being efficient is not a part of it. In the daily work now, if you look at the results, we got from 120 days of work in progress to 20 days now. And like I say, we have a clear overview what's going on. Going on with the project, going on with the issue, how the backlog is, what we should start is always on the top. So we don't have to think about what we are doing or what we are going to do. We look at it, discuss it, look at it from the right to the left, look at the black cards, what have we do, look at the red cards, what are we going to do there, and having extra attention. If you look at the reliability, well, we are 90%, we have performance on delivery. We came from 30, but I think it was more low. And last week, our last escalation customer went off, so we have no escalations anymore. So if you look at the software quality, it's much more better, and we love our customers. The mindset is to solve the problem for the customers and develop things what is useful for the customer. And it makes another developer, because the developer is thinking in the mindset of a customer. So what he is developing looks quite a lot of different, because he's in the mindset of the customer who has to use it. And that's a real difference than we had before. Lead time from 40 days to 19 days, and then I say the lead time that an issue comes from the first service desk and is going to the customer. If you look at our internal, then the average is medium issue, and that's 5 days lead time. So if you have an issue, a normal issue, a week later you have an update. Instead of 40 weeks, it was 20 weeks, sorry. It was 20 weeks. And at last, our employees, and I can't say it enough, how important it is to get your employees going with the flow. The team leads are very important, and they are always looking now at what I am doing. They want focus. They ask for it. They push each other to have focus. They have a lot of work pressure, what's not that big anymore. And most of all, they are really pride of what they done in quite a few months' time. Pride that they can make a customer happy, that they deliver on time, even in IT, and that colleagues say, "Hey, I'm really glad what you're doing, because now we can do things we hadn't time for, because we are always spending time at the customer doing escalations or solving things. Now we can optimize things," and that's what's ORTEC about. We like to optimize. So we are really proud. Like I'm standing here, I'm proud to tell here, proud to be in Paris and to be invited by you to tell this story. Last picture.
So what really happens is it's a kind of a generic procedure you can follow. And the funny thing is that what you said this morning about we implemented it only in a part of ORTEC, and all the managers are there and say, wow, well done. And then they go on doing what they always did. So I hope that we can get an answer on that tomorrow, Philip. Thank you very much.
I think we have one time in the Heineken buffer left.
One buffer can consume another, so we'll give you some of our conclusion time. Are there any questions?
No, it's let's say you were using Agile Scrum, yes. And why do you think it was failing? Why the framework was failing?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things we did with the Agile is working in sprints. So you have if you look at backlog and Agile, you have a huge backlog. It's always too big for a sprint. So you put the work to the next sprint. So you never know what is finished and when. So you don't know what you deliver on any date. That's one thing. If you look at the Kanban, normally the difference what we have here is that you have an overview of all the work. If you look at the normal Kanban, it's assigned to people, and because it's assigned to one person, he has to do it, and then you see that colleagues are not helping, and when the one is ill or has a day off, the issue is still on the board and it's not going on. And so we have no overview of what's the real work is. One of the other things is we use Jira. Jira works with estimated time. So you can measure how many time is spent on an issue, but it doesn't tell anything about how much it's finished. So you never can tell about estimates and about writing hours on an issue, how far the status is of an issue. So that was the main part, the main three things which didn't work. Yeah?
It's always hard to summarize for those who don't, who are starting today or have only a beginning knowledge of various things. We take it for granted. In critical chain management, what you ask is how much work is left. You don't ask them how much time they spent. The only thing that you're interested in is when it's going to finish. And the reporting is how much time is left. And that gives you the visibility of when things are going to get finished. But it's a very rare question in today's world, unfortunately, isn't it? An honest answer to how much time is left. So if somebody has a problem, right? They were given 5 days to do the job, but it's a headache, it's a big problem. And at the end of the 5 days, they say, I've got 8 days left of work. That's the truth, right? And if you don't allow your people to say that, you're never going to win, right? He has a problem. It's not he's bad. This thing turns out to be very complicated. Okay? So to get visibility, you need to have honesty in declaring not only what you've done, that's not really very important, but what you think has to be done to finish.